to administrative items. This is item 8.1, resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville approving the plans and specifications for the Peninsula Fire Station renovation.
And clock.
And clock, says Kurt. And Maurice.
The room empties here.
It's you too, Maurice. The reason why.
Maurice.
A lot of interest in that item.
There was.
There was a lot of
interest, yeah.
Well, the housing especially really critical.
Yeah, they came out in force.
Mayor Asher, members of the City Council, this is a project we've been working on for a little over a year now, where at that time we had found mold in our fire station building, and we started urgently on a rehabilitation project to do a waterproofing project. As we got into looking at the building, it turned into more of a rehabilitation of most of the facility. So this is a picture of what the facility looks like right now. As part of the project, we're going to be doing work on the roof. As you know, we recently terminated leases on the antennas that were housed on top of that building. They've actually come in and removed one of the antenna systems for T-Mobile. We're still waiting for Sprint to come through and do that. But we're going to be redoing the roof, and there's a number of other exterior improvements that we're going to be doing to the building listed here. I won't read them to you. I guess I could read them to you. Or doing the clockwork, roof replacement, number of different things here to the brick, applying waterproofing to the brick as well. New photovoltaic systems on canopies and on the roof, an array on the roof, and repainting the parapet railing on the flat roof. And this is an image of what the building will look like when we're done on the outside. We're going to be putting these canopies here on the outside, which will be photovoltaic canopies, and they're going to help to prevent the sun glaring into the kitchen area. On the interior, there's a number of improvements we're doing to the kitchen and the restrooms, ADA facilities, upgrades, and so on and so forth. There's a clock on the outside of the building. You can barely see it, but it's on this tower. It's never really worked properly if you've never been able to see it. The issue with that clock is you can't really maintain it. There's no real way to get into the building and get access to the clock. So it's probably been accurate twice a day for a number of years. We would like to, as part of this project, incorporate an upgrade to that clock. And I have the architect here to speak on that. There's a number of options she's come up with, and she has a recommendation, so I'll introduce you to Patricia Alicon with Ratcliffe.
Okay.
Thanks, Maurice.
So if you want to scroll down here.
Which changes the picture.
Which changes the option.
Oh, okay.
That's option one.
Great. Okay, thank you, Maurice. So as Maurice mentioned, the primary issues with the clock tower are visibility. Currently, you can't read the clock because of the low contrast between the numbers and the brick. And number two is the serviceability of the motor, which is from the inside in the hose tower where the firefighters' equipment is. So it's really hard to access and to provide a code-compliant, OSHA-compliant service platform from the inside. So before I get into our solutions, then I'll just say that the issue of not being able to service the motor from the inside led us to the idea of having a clock with the motor, which is serviceable from the outside, so we wouldn't have to use the hose tower, would use a cherry picker to fix it. So that approach really opens up possibilities in terms of the face of the clock, because the motor, which goes in, now needs to be covered by a metal plate. We can play with the size and the color of that metal plate, which gives us the opportunity for more contrast between the letters and the background. So I'm just going to go through a few options and really spend time on the final one. This one is kind of the minimal size of the plate to cover up the access into the motor. This is just changing the colors. This is saying, you know, let's look at letters and numbers and hands that start to match the graphics on the total building. You'll see a picture on that. This is another color iteration. This is saying, you know, we have the opportunity to really make this plate be a bigger element and then give us the contrast that we need. This option doesn't provide us the contrast. This starts to do it, but it doesn't really work with the rest of the building. This starts to do it, in our opinion. We pull from the colors of the existing metal roofing, which we're actually going to be replacing with the same color because it's already part of the whole color palette of the building, excuse me. And this is our final solution, which unfortunately you can't really read the writing here. This is the lettering for the fire station right here, and it's raised letters that are brass in color. So our proposal then intends to have the background of the clock match the color of the existing roofing and have the letters and the hands match the color and the lettering on the fire station. So it really kind of pulls existing elements together. I think it's going to make the clock more readable for people driving down the street more than twice a year. And it's also going to make it serviceability not be an issue that interrupts the working of the firefighters from a day-to-day point of view, because if things need to get fixed, if the clock needs to, that motor needs to be accessed, it can happen from the exterior. So it's we think it's a solution that ties together all the components, the palette, the color and material palette, and returns functionality back to the clock. It's not making a grandiose statement. I think there's already a lot of activity happening in that tower with the brick pattern. It's not competing with that. It's just really adding another layer to make the thing functional and readable. If you have any questions?
I do. Actually, I have two questions. If I remember correctly, those hands can be lit up at night from backlighting. Are you planning on doing that?
That was not, we were not aware of that component.
There's other models out there that you can light them up from behind so you can see the clock at night.
Okay.
And the other thing, there's how about resetting and adjusting the time? Are you going to have a remote controller?
Yeah, the controller will be remote.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully there's not going to be a lot of reason to have to get up back into the clock anymore. And certainly we can look into the various options for lit or unlit.
Yeah, I think I gave you a number probably about a year and a half ago, some that had the lit hands, which would be really nice so you can see it at night.
Right, we can look into models. I mean, you could actually put a lamp on there to just shine it on the clock, or you could get somewhat lit numbers. I think I'd be concerned about maintenance of light bulbs on a clock.
They're LEDs that you put behind that. Okay.
I think that's a good idea, Kurt.
Yeah, I want to see it at night.
Yeah. Anyone else? Comments or questions?
I just have a comment. I don't think the brass makes sense because of the contrast issue. So I think both the hands and letters of the clock and the letters on the building should be black. And same with the letters on the fire station.
I think, if I may I address that? My concern with the letters on the building being black is that that's also not going to have the contrast that you need. The black against the brick may be
It has more than
difficult.
the brass does. That's why I'm suggesting it.
You mean on the clock, or you mean the letters
Both.
on the building?
On this one? On the brick.
Maybe what we can do is take a picture of the existing lettering to see without up close and see how it looks, and
Yeah, I'm
maybe
sorry
bring it back.
that this is not.
Even the photograph, you could barely see what.
You're
I can't see it.
right. You're right.
There's no contrast there.
It's more legible than this photo looks.
So I think it would be a mistake to keep that.
Can this be in the first phase of the job too?
I'm sorry.
Do that
Can this be in the first phase of
This
the
is
job?
phase one, as quick as you want it.
Okay, we want it quick.
Do it. All right. Well, we could continue to look at the contrast, creating more contrast between the hands, the lettering, and the background, considering that we have competing backgrounds, the proposed green to match the roof, and then the brick. So we need to come up with a color that's going to work with both. whether it's black or silver or some other color. I'd like to study that a little bit.
So we can move forward with whatever you want out there, but I'd like to get permission to advertise the project, and then we can finalize the design of the clock. I'm hoping as we award the contract, give it maybe put an allowance in there to deal with the mechanism we're going to use.
Sure, and then we can also look at the lighted hands to see
Right.
what the color options are with that. That's going to take us into another direction.
Right,
You want
and
to
so-
light up the whole sign.
Right, and so when we come back to award the contract, we can hopefully get agreement on what the mechanism is going to look like.
That sounds good. Can we hear from the, go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, I have some questions for Maurice. Maurice, how long is the station going to be closed for this construction?
I anticipate it's going to be 4 to 6 months of work on the project.
That's about right.
That's very concerning to me, that because the access to the peninsula from Alameda County Fire from Hollis Street could be severely impacted coming across the freeway. 4 to 6 months is a long time to have the peninsula in a situation where you possibly couldn't get your engines out there for 10 to 15 minutes. That's a real problem.
Well, we're going to make sure that the emergency preemption is working as it's supposed to on all the signals, and we have space in the fire station. We've already confirmed that all the dispatch is going to work over there for the 2 different crews that we have. Is my understanding, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to have to kind of make do without 2 fire stations for the
Well, the
duration.
biggest concern out there is what is the status of the sprinkler system at the Watergate?
They're almost completed. They're not signed off on it yet, are they? Did George sign off on the water suppression system, the fire suppression system?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think they're pretty
So-
close to completion. You won't be starting for at least 6 months, right?
Well, no, we're probably going to start advertising the project in August, and then we'll receive bids, probably an award in October. So.
Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that you don't close that fire station until the suppression system is working in Watergate.
We can work around that.
Okay.
Hopefully that's not going to be, hopefully it's done real soon. We're going to, once we receive the bids, we're going to want to move forward as quick
Okay.
as we can.
But let's, maybe we can push them to move forward a little faster, Watergate.
We can talk to
Then
them.
the other issue I have connected with this redoing of this, what is our policy going to be about allowing anybody to put anything on that roof? We're not going to let those guys come back on the roof, I hope.
At this point, we're not, yes. We're not. And we're not recommending, we've asked for them to stay off the roof at this point, so they're removing all their equipment. They haven't even approached us to try to renew the leases or to try to put more telecom equipment on the site. So at this point, there
Sabrina,
won't be
is there a
anything.
way to make a definitive statement that nothing is to be put on the roof? I think they wrecked the roof.
They
It wasn't
did.
a good roof to begin with, but I don't think they did it.
It didn't help the roof. The roof's original to the building. It
Right.
probably, with all the traffic we had up there, I'm sure it helped to degrade the
Right.
roof.
But we have to be preventative about this and not have people up there tromping around.
And you all, I believe it was 2 or 3 meetings ago, did terminate the lease up there, so any new activity up there would have to come to you for approval.
Very good.
Other questions from council or no?
I
Okay,
make a
let's-
motion to move the project.
Okay, let's hear from the public really quick.
I just want to agree with Ruth. I think the black lettering is definitely more noticeable, and the backdrop is certainly important. Thank you.
I'd move the resolution.
Anyone else from the public want to be heard? No? Okay. Second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? No? Okay, all right. Moving on.